So, I managed to see Ghostbusters earlier this week as it got a UK release here earlier than other territories, and as someone who was just holding out hope for the movie to at least be good after a bad marketing campaign, I'm happy to report that the movie continues to hold the pedigree set by previous Paul Feig movies, and along with Deadpool is the most I've laughed in a movie theatre in 2016 so far. The mainstream audience reactions are positive, the reviews are positive, with the movie just skirting the certified fresh accolade on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's on track to perform well at the box office. The success of the movie on its own terms and in terms of the box office has been a huge question mark since its announcement because the backlash against the movie has been unprecedented. But now that the movie has been released and it turns out to be at worst meh and at best pretty darn good, I'm sure that the people who had legitimate concerns and grievances will give the movie the benefit of the doubt, see it for themselves and make their own judgments. Oh. Here's the thing, folks, the backlash against this movie has been nothing short of stupid since day one for many, many reasons. This movie has been singled out completely unfairly, and when you take a look at the broader cultural context, a lot of the reasons the online fan community have been gearing up to hate this film have ranged from nonsensical to broadly hypocritical, so let's go through these reasons step by step. Number one, we're sick of reboots. If you're sick of reboots, then fair enough, there are a lot of them going around, but if that's the case, then where is the hate for the upcoming Ben-Hur remake? What about Pete's Dragon or The Jungle Book? Hell, we're getting another Jungle Book in the next couple of years from another studio. We just got another Tarzan movie, but there was no call for boycotts on that film. That's meant to be far, far worse than the new Ghostbusters. Where was the 1 million downvote campaign on that movie's poor-looking trailers? I know that Ghostbusters was a great movie from the 80s and it's one of the best comedies from that era, in fact it still holds up greatly today, but when RoboCop, Evil Dead, The Thing, Straw Dogs, Point Break, Total Recall, Red Dawn, Carrie, Annie, Fright Night, Arthur, Footloose, Planet of the Apes, and more can be remade over the past 5 years alone, and Ghostbusters is the one movie that breaks the camel's back, that is obscene. I love the original, but come on now, folks. And it's not like Ghostbusters is the movie that has started the audience backlash against reboots now, because there are countless other remakes on the horizon, and there are no organised hate campaigns against those. Are all of those aforementioned movies combined not even worth one Ghostbusters? And let's face it, if you went to go see Finding Dory, Independence Day Resurgence, The Legend of Tarzan, TMNT 2, Captain America Civil War, and other sequels or remakes and reboots, but didn't see one of the many original movies in multiplexes like Sing Street, Swiss Army Man, The Nice Guys, The Neon Demon, and many more, then you cannot complain about there being too many reboots and remakes. You waive the right to use that hypocritical argument just because it's a new Ghostbusters film and when it personally suits you. Reason number two, the trailers were bad. Now this is a slightly more legitimate argument. From the day the first trailer dropped, I had my own concerns as well. If you've read my first trailer reaction on my website, then you'll know that I was let down by it. However, my god, there are worse trailers out there. Going back to Ben-Hur, seriously, that looks really bad. Pete's Dragon looks really cheap and lame. Trolls looks like it could be a colourful disaster. And Sing, oh my god, Sing.
Oh my gosh, look at her butt.
This trailer contains literally everything that is wrong with movies, and it's not like this trailer is some independent, underground, barely viewed thing. This has 22+ million views, but look at that dislike bar, or the lack thereof. If this was really about the pure quality, then this trailer should have been downvoted into oblivion. What about Pixels? That movie looked way worse than Ghostbusters ever did, but there was no downvote campaign for that. There was no organised battle cries on Reddit saying, let's get this to 2 million downvotes, and that was a Sony movie as well. The American trailers were pretty poor, and if you were put off the movie because of those, then I feel your pain. It's the job of the trailer to sell you on the movie, and if the trailers didn't do that, then by default, it's a bad trailer. It also doesn't help that Sony seem to have a committee approach to their movie trailers by hitting the same beats, moments, and if I didn't know any better, I'd say that Sony had a literal template when it came to making their trailers.
Someone is creating a device that amplifies paranormal activity, and we might be the only ones who can stop it.
We're the only ones who can do this!
We're the only ones who can do this.
I'm the only one who can stop them. The whole world is in danger, and it's up to us to stop them.
However, as the campaign went on, the trailers got slightly better, but that didn't prevent every new teaser, clip, TV spot, interview getting down-thumbed pretty irrationally, despite the obvious improvements. But here's the thing, folks, it's one thing to say that a movie looks bad from the trailers. I say looks bad all the time, as opposed to saying for definite that it will be bad, because when you see the finished product, you need to leave all of your expectations behind and judge the movie on its own. In 2014, I was prepared to hate Paddington. The trailers were bad, the marketing was poor, I was gearing up to lash into this film. But then it came out, and I loved it. I own it on Blu-ray, and it was easily the best live-action family film of 2014. Honestly, it was really humbling to be proven wrong. As nice and shallow as it is to be vindicated about a movie's quality, there's nothing better than being proven wrong with a big screen surprise. But yeah, the trailers were poor for Paddington, but if I let the trailers be the be-all and the end-all for my judgment on movies, I would never have watched Edge of Tomorrow, Dread, Frozen, X-Men First Class, and more. Trailers are only trailers and are not always reflective on the quality of the movie, and this has been proven time and time again. You know this. Yes, you listening to this video, you know this for a fact. Yet for Ghostbusters, people once again chose to make an exception. You even had people so desperate to find anything to hate about this movie that they'll just conjure up controversy and news stories out of thin air by complaining that the review embargo for this movie was lifting before the movie was actually released, and somehow acting like that was a bad or unreasonable thing. I'm sure these people also had problems with Independence Day Resurgence not actually holding press screenings until an entire day after the shitty movie was released. Or are you just going to single out Ghostbusters because, I don't know, you have an agenda to push and that it's the cool thing to do, I guess? And reason number 3, Sony have been acting like dicks. Now, a lot of people have pointed to the Sony hacks and all of the news stories talking about the troubled production of Ghostbusters and have used that as a reason to hate the movie. Even though 90% of all movies ever made ever have had production issues, but let's just forget about that because we want to hate Ghostbusters. Sony's movie chief Tim Rothman loving the negative backlash the trailer got because the movie got widespread attention, and Sony using bots to delete all of the legitimate concerns, comments and criticism in the comment section of the first trailer on YouTube, leaving only the thousands of sexist and racist comments. But think about those last 2 points. People were furious at Rothman's reaction to the sexism and the racism. People were livid at Sony only leaving the racist and the sexist comments in the trailer. But these same people weren't mad about the racist and the sexist comments. Think about that. Really think about that. People's priorities with this movie are absolutely warped, and I think this is the key to analysing the backlash. All over the internet, you'll see people say, no one is hating the movie because it's all women, or sexism has nothing to do with this. But there is, and it does. Clear as day. Now look, I'm not saying that if you didn't think the movie looked good then you're sexist, or that if you've seen the movie and didn't think it was any good then you're sexist, or that sexism even makes the majority of the backlash, but it's clear that sexism is playing a much bigger role here than people are willing to admit. When you go back to before any trailers were released, you'll see people furious at the idea of women being Ghostbusters. You go to the Ghostbusters trailer and see the comments that weren't deleted by the Sony bots, and you'll see pages upon pages of misogynist bile. This is provable. This is a fact, admitting that a big portion of the backlash, not necessarily the majority, but a big portion against this movie is fueled by women hating. Admitting that doesn't mean the feminazis win, or whatever false propaganda you've been fed. It makes you correct. I'm not saying don't be angry at Sony's behaviour or their removal of the comments, but internet, you can, in fact, be angry at 2 things at the same time. And then when you get director Paul Feig star Melissa McCarthy get interviewed and fight back against this provable sexism, racism and unjustified sight unseen hatred, you get the people with legitimate grievances who deny the fact that sexism is happening getting offended by these comments that were never aimed at them. You see people getting angry at the cast and crew's comments, lashing out at the sexists and saying that they were offended by them. If you never had an issue with the gender casting, then you should not have a problem with these comments then, you dolts. But you still get people saying, Paul and Melissa insulted me personally by saying that I am a basement dweller, so I am not going to see their movie. If you go back to my trailer reaction, you'll know that I had issues with the trailer, so when Melissa McCarthy called the sexist commenters basement dwellers, I didn't get offended. Do you know why? Because it wasn't aimed at me. It's like that scene in Indiana Jones when he shoots that swordsman. Now imagine that you're this random guy here. Now Indy shoots the swordsman. Now imagine this guy saying, "Why did you shoot at me, Indy? Why are you firing your gun at me, Indy? Why are you trying to kill me, Indy? For Zool's sake, random bystander, that shot wasn't aimed at you." God, who wants to bet that these same people complain that supposed feminists act like victims all the time? And now that the movie has been released, the critic reviews are positive, the audiences seem to be enjoying it, the backlash still hasn't stopped. The movie being good and well received isn't good enough for this community, thus proving that they do have deep-seated confirmation bias and that the problem isn't with the movie, it's with them, but they don't want to admit that. They don't want their year-long predictions and time spent campaigning against this movie that they were sure would be terrible to be in vain, and they're gagging for vindication. Now you have Reddit forums gathering all positive reviews of the movie in one place so they could be downvoted, and so that people can direct their angry comments at the critics who liked the film. Oh yeah, and of course there have been countless accusations of Sony paying off the critics, because of course there have. You have Grace Randolph recommending the movie, and that's been hit with downvotes and lots of sexism in the comments. Collider said the movie was okay, and they got hit with downvotes. John Campier liked the movie with caveats, but that's been hit by trolls. Kermode said the movie was okay, and that comment section is just the worst. Alicia Malone, one of the most hard-working and knowledgeable people in the online community, had to disable the comments on her review because of the anti-feminist bile and sexism going around. And what did she say about the movie that got this sort of backlash? She said it was, and I quote, "fine." Apparently those reviews are terrible and should be hated by the internet, but this review from Mr. Brandtoast saying he never actually saw the movie but was, and I'm not even kidding here, was sent a plot synopsis from some random guy, and he based his entire review off of that, and of course he hated it because the confirmation bias this guy has is off the scale, but that review has a large like bar and has apparently been accepted by the internet as a good thing. Can you imagine that happening with any other movie? Can you imagine, I don't know, Swiss Army Man being reviewed by someone who was very candid about not even watching the film, and the internet being okay with that review? Heck, a few weeks ago, there was actually a writer for the Daily Mail who slammed the Neon Demon and called for it to be banned, despite not having seen the movie. The film community laid into that critic, and for good reason, but what, because it's Ghostbusters, then not seeing a movie before reviewing it is okay? Is your ethical code that broken as a viewer, or is your standard for criticism that low? But nope, because this movie is a reboot, or has women in it, or has bad trailers, or any of those reasons, or all of them, then all of a sudden that's okay? Shut up with that nonsense. Is this what film discussion has devolved into? People with agendas and confirmation bias hating a movie that they haven't even seen is okay because they're saying what you want them to? Or people with clear, proven ethical track records like Malone, Campier or Kermode having seen the movie and saying it's okay is bad because it's not the reaction that you personally wanted? Is this really the level that we're at now? I've had people who haven't even seen the movie yet tell me that they're going to unsubscribe if I give it a positive review. That is messed up, and the need for confirmation bias from these online idiots in reaction to a movie's positive reception is as crazy as it is mean-spirited. You have organised campaigns of people planting 1-star reviews on IMDb to try and skew the metrics, people sending death threats to Harold Ramis's daughter who took umbrage with people using her father to justify their hate of the film, people saying that they hate the movie because it wasn't specifically targeted at just them, people saying that the original Ghostbusters wasn't even good or even a comedy in order to justify hating this new one. If you have to drag something down that you are supposedly defending in order to hate something you haven't even seen yet, then please seek help. Seriously, people are complaining saying, oh, but they made this discussion about sexism, or, oh, poor vegan, the Ghostbusters, they're pushing feminism and gender equality on us, when in actuality, this has been entirely reactionary. Sony could not have used the sexist backlash to their advantage if there wasn't a sexist backlash. And yes, it sucks that James Rolfe was lampooned for boycotting the movie and being falsely labelled as a sexist by the media. That wasn't Sony, that was the media. That sucked. As a fan of Rolfe's work, it was frustrating to watch that happen. But you know what? There is fault on both sides here. Maybe people would stop labelling everyone who has an issue with the movie as being sexist if there wasn't so much legitimate sexism surrounding the movie. Maybe if you didn't have so many people generating sexist buzz around the film, then Sony would not have capitalised on that sexism. Maybe if people actually acknowledged the existence of the basement-dwelling sexists who provably exist, almost solely to scorn this movie, and maybe if people called them out on it and made them not feel welcome in this community, then we could have actually had a legitimate discussion about the film. Instead, people denying their very existence yet still sharing their same negative opinion made the sexists feel vindicated, welcomed and sheltered, allowing them to keep spreading their hate without fear of backlash from within their own ranks. And this is becoming a huge issue, not just in film community, but in all walks of discourse. We could not have a single legitimate conversation about the pros and cons of the EU without loads of people coming in saying, them brown people done took our gerbs, and people saying, no one's saying that. No one is saying, I don't care if the comment section are full of those people. No one is saying that. We can't have legitimate discussions if we do not purge these people from our own ranks. And if you've seen the movie and didn't like it, that is fair enough. As long as you gave it its time of day, as long as you left your expectations at the door, that is fine. You're entitled to that opinion. As long as you gave it a chance, that is fine. But if you are one of those people who are still, to this day, taking part in these organised down-thumbing or trolling campaigns, or harassing critics who gave it positive reviews, or still trying to deny the existence of sexism and all of this trolling, even though this movie is out and has already proven itself worthy of the Ghostbusters brand, especially since it's actually better than Ghostbusters 2, then you, my friend, are everything that is wrong with film discourse. You may say, oh, Sony is cancer, or feminism is cancer, but I can emphatically say that you are cancer in the realms of fandom, and you should genuinely receive professional help, because this mentality isn't healthy. I'm genuinely concerned for you. If you're making anti-Ghostbusters videos every week despite not even seeing the movie, then that is not healthy. If you're tracking down all positive reviews and accusing them of being paid by Sony, or saying that they're plants, or that they're wrong and that they're bad people for liking the film, that is not healthy. If you're going into comment section on Facebook, Twitter, forums and websites and personally insulting those who say they liked the movie or are planning to see it, then go and seek professional help. And maybe your motives are not found in sexism or racism, but you are still being an absolute wank stain. The penny has now dropped. The reviews are in. The movie is good. You are now in the minority when it comes to the discussion about this film. Accept that and move on to something that is worthy of your scorn. Like that Sing trailer.
Yes, that was very bad.
Trilbee.